Good morning, friends, and welcome to Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive. Today's episode is special in more than one way. We have with us two youngsters, two young girls who are preparing to usher their 5-decade-old company into the future. Both come from diverse businesses, yet both are very confident of what they have carved for their future. They are the perfect examples of Nayi Soch, new thoughts, new ideas, who are preparing to carve Naye Raaste, paths for their future. But what is more interesting is that both of them have a lot of commonalities and coincidences. Both the companies were started by their grandfathers, Niranjan Gupta and Vaki Limra. We are talking about Caravan Logistics and Jalaram Transport. Both the grandfathers have been prominent members of Bombay Goods Transport Association, and both have a reputation of being very strict and very stern. However, when it comes to their granddaughters, both of them have a very soft corner. And why not? Both these girls are absolutely adorable. The next common factor is that both these girls have staunch support of their fathers, Sanjeev Gupta and Girish Limra. Another intriguing fact, in the same office, in the same cabin, I have had the privilege of interviewing the grandfather, the father, and now the daughter. This goes for both the companies. So in this episode of Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive, we are delighted to feature Ghazal Gupta from Caravan Logistics and Vaishakhi Limda from Jalaram Transport. First up, we have with us Ghazal Gupta from Caravan Logistics on the other side of this very short break. You are watching Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive.
How do you really define new? They say the new takes you beyond possible and makes you do what's unthinkable. Now imagine a world where trucks never have to stop, where no one has to wait when there is an emergency, and happiness always arrives on time. In a hurried world, no one worries about kids getting to school safely. Fathers always come home with a surprise. Mothers sleep peacefully when their son is out on the road 24/7. In a digitally connected world, the real connections are never lost. Friendships are never left behind when work gets tougher. The wheels are kept moving by dedicated professionals. And ultimately, it's not just technology, but people who save the planet. The new thinking not only makes our business grow, but also gives us newer ways to celebrate life. Eicher, Nayi Soch Naye Raaste.
Welcome back to Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive. Let's catch up with Ghazal Gupta from Caravan Logistics and see what does she have up her sleeve. Ghazal, thank you so much for your time, and I can't tell you how delighted I am because I've interviewed your grandfather, your father, and now you. So on a personal note, it's a very emotional interview for me. Tell me, what prompted you to join the family business? Because I know you're probably the first girl in this family to join Caravan Roadways.
That's true. So absolutely lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me at such an early stage, especially. We'll definitely do more interviews later in the future.
Oh yes, I will be tracking your journey.
But yes, so I am the first girl who's joining the company. It's always been granddad, his brothers, my dad, and his brothers. So it was like, a very different thing to do. But my father always stood by me. Like, he always, I think I was conditioned to join the family business. I'm the oldest daughter in my family. So
Okay.
my dad was always like, you will join the business at some point.
Uh-huh.
So I studied finance and then I studied marketing, BSc and MSc. So because I knew I wanted to do business, so I wanted to get more of a holistic education in both those aspects. So I did that, and I knew the calling was business, and it was supposed to be the family business in some way.
So when did you decide, that you actually want to take the plunge?
So I think initially I was a little intimidated, very intimidated to be honest, because I would be the first girl joining. And I hadn't seen a lot of women in the industry at all. So it was difficult for me to make my mind that I do want to join this, even though at the back of the mind it was always there.
Right.
But to make that step is the hard part, So when I came back from my masters, I did my masters in Spain. Then I came back. I worked with dad for some time. I was working with the staff, understanding how the business works. And then I thought that maybe I should do a job somewhere else, try to understand how it works outside, what other people's problems are, and then try to implement that in our family business as well. So that is what I did. I worked in a startup called Cult.
Okay.
So that is an e-commerce beauty platform, but I worked on the inventory side of it. So to understand how supply chain for e-commerce works. So to try and bring that knowledge to our warehousing business. And that is how, and after maybe around 4 or 5 months of working there, I realized that I do want to join the business eventually. So now better than later.
So what were the key learnings that you learned, while you were at Cult?
I think I understood a lot from the e-commerce perspective, how brands manage their supply chain, where they want to cut costs. And when they are importing, what are their timelines and how quickly they want to kind of get rid of middlemen and try to do it as fast as possible. So those were some of the learnings that I spoke to dad about, and then we tried to talk about it and see how we can help and how we can implement.
With your grand and dad being around, did you learn a little bit about business even before joining in? Did you have an idea of what's happening here?
A little bit, I would say. So granddad was into transport and dad is into custom bonded warehousing completely. So I knew what they do, but I didn't know the details of it.
Okay.
So to be honest with you, initially, before I ever joined dad, I thought a warehouse is like a big space, dingy space where you just store goods and they go in and out. I had no idea how they go in and out. I didn't know, like when I actually visited those warehouses with dad, I realized there are racking systems. There's a forklift that's making this happen. So in my head, I did not know anything. I just thought it's a storage space. So there was a lot of learning when I joined. But initially, I think it was mainly just listening to them talk on calls so I can understand what issues they're facing. But most of it was really loud screaming at both ends. So that is how I picked up a lot from those conversations. So I did have a fair idea, but I think a lot of it was the wrong idea. So after joining is when I've actually understood what they do.
But what was your impression of this industry on the whole, going by what you heard and what you saw?
So, as I said, initially I was very intimidated to join the industry in general. But when I'm joining, when I think with my dad's support, like he is a very resilient person, and with his constant support towards me, I think there is something that we can grow into. We can, there is a lot that we can do in logistics, even beyond custom bonded warehousing. So I think because my initial image was a little like, okay, women don't do this. Now I feel like we can break through that. We can break through the shackles of that. Maybe there is not everything that is possible. For example, construction at the warehouse, you won't see a lot of women laborers there, but you can have women who are leading those teams.
Absolutely.
Yes. So that is a perception that I think is changing for me.
Wonderful. And Ghazal, what was the reaction of the staff here? Because, your staff, I'm seeing some faces who've been there for a long time now. They're used to a very different work culture with your dad and grandfather especially. So a lady coming into work, what was their response like?
I think they were actually very comfortable because they have seen me grow up. A lot of them have been there since I was around 7, 8, 10 years old. They've seen me come in, draw on papers, and take printouts of those papers. Like they've seen me do like childish things like that,
Right.
to sitting with them and working, doing bill of entries, understanding accounts, to then sitting alongside dad and working with him. So they've seen the journey, and I've always seen them be very welcoming, and like they always have a smile on their faces when they see me. And because I'll always greet them and I'll talk to them softly. So, and they are more comfortable sometimes when they're scared of something, they'll come and they'll ask me about it, and they'll say,
that's
Papa ko
nice.
bata do. So for small things. So then
So I think you
it's-
provide that cushion there, you know, that
yeah, like I think there is
emotional
a
touch.
emotional touch, and there is a comfort space. I think.
That's
So I
wonderful.
think with the staff in office, it's always been very comfortable. I don't think there's a barrier there. But I think workforce outside of office, for example, at the warehouses, I haven't been exposed to that much yet. But I'm sure there will be some friction, but nothing that we can't tackle over time.
So, Ghazal, what will be your future plan going on from here? When do you plan to settle down completely here, and where do you plan to take this company?
Okay, so this is more than a 50-year-old company, with how grandfather started it and then now how dad is doing it. And since that granddad started with transport, dad pivoted into custom bonded warehousing. I know there is a lot of white space in the logistics industry that we've still not tapped into. And I think there is so much funding also coming in. Like,
Right.
for example, delivery and porter are huge examples of how the industry is growing and it's getting more visibility. So I think there are a lot of white spaces that we can tackle in, like tap into. But at the same time, I would like to keep the roots of warehousing.
Okay.
Yeah, because for me, those are my roots, because that's what my father has started. I would like to keep those roots, but we would definitely want to diversify into different forms of it.
And would you also consciously bring in more women workforce now that you're here as well?
Definitely. I think it requires a lot of talk about women in the logistics industry, because when I go to certain events, I'm usually the only female there. There are very, very few other females that are in the industry. So I think with younger generations, with education also coming in, there are logistics and supply chain courses
Right.
coming into India now. So I think within the next 5 or 10 years, we can definitely have way more women than we have right now. So the plan is
Absolutely.
always going. And we do have women staff in our office
Of
now
course,
as
yes.
well. Yes.
Thank you so much, Ghazal, and we will be tracking your journey, and we will interact with you very often now.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Definitely. Looking forward to that.
That was the young and confident Ghazal Gupta, very clear in her thoughts on what she wants to do in the future and where she wants to take her company. On the other side of this very short break, we will be talking to Vaishakhi Limda from Jalaram Transport. You are watching Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive.
कभी सोचा अगर किसी दिन सब कुछ रुक गया तो इन छोटी छोटी खुशियों पे लाइफ पे ब्रेक लग गया तो किसी ने तो जिम्मेदारी ली होगी कि सब स्मूथली चलता रहे। कोई ऐसा जो ऐसे स्टीयरिंग थामे हैं कि हम ना रुके। जो वक्त से आगे की सोच रखता हो, नए रास्ते बनाता हो। शुक्र है जिंदगी की ड्राइविंग सीट पे कोई तो बैठा है, क्योंकि जब हम चलेंगे तो दुनिया चलेगी। आइशर के साथ रहिए 24/7 कनेक्टेड, ताकि ना आपका बिजनेस रुके ना लाइफ। नई सोच नए रास्ते।
Welcome back to Eicher Presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive. Let me tell you, it is such a delight talking to these youngsters. They are so knowledgeable and so clear on what they want to do. In this segment, let's talk to Vaishakhi Limra from Jalaram Transport. Okay, so Vaishakhi, the cabin where we are sitting in, I have interacted with your granddad
Yes.
in this cabin for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
So for me, it is a delight seeing the third gen in Jalaram Transport. So to start with, tell me, what prompted you to join the family business? Why?
You're right. This is actually my grandfather's chair, and I too feel immensely proud to be sitting here. I don't operate from here regularly. I operate from outside my office. But I'm very happy that I'm sitting here. I think what prompted me is that a lot of my personal values align with my grandfather's and in turn the company's, because he's the one who started the company. It has been 50 years now. And I've talked about this with you a lot of times, the values that he has built, rooted for us. I think that matters the most to me. And it's more of a duty, I think, than an obligation to be here. I feel very proud that I can contribute directly to my family and the family that he has built over 50 years. So, yeah.
But tell me, I know your granddad to be a very strict person.
Yeah.
How is he with you?
Oh, he's not strict at all. He's a great guy. I think he believes deeply in the things he believes in. I think he's a very respectful, very kind, very ethical man. I think the ethics and the want to be at it all the time. Still at 80, he wants to come here. He won't stop. I think that's what sometimes comes off as strict, but he has never been strict with me.
So tell me, before coming to work, before day one of your work, how much did you know about the business and what's happening here? You would have seen your dad and your granddad talk, fight, or whatever.
Yeah. So from a very young age, I've been coming to office, very young. These people from my office have seen me grow up, basically. Yes, there have been issues when it's, I think, a family business. We are 3 generations. We 3 are in the same office. Sometimes it's a whole
crazy
mess.
place to be.
yeah, it is. But, I have this recommendation for a lot of people who might want to get into the family business. There's a handbook by Harvard Business Review called the Family Business Handbook. It can actually help you solve so many issues, like how to talk just with your father. Even dealing with him as a boss is quite different, because in an hour I'm home and then he's my father, and here I can't treat him that way. But it taught me a lot of things about how I can deal with these situations over here and still keep the peace at home. So yeah. But yeah, there have not been any major conflict, like
so far.
Lucky so far. Yeah.
So you knew a bit about what your business is all about before you actually got in here?
Yes, I did. And initially when I joined, I was like doing the LRs, I was doing the memos. So I learned that way. Then I attended all these Bombay Goods Transport Association meetings with my dad. We are like a family there.
Absolutely.
So I've been interacting with all these uncles over there. I've grown up around them. They're still helping me. Like that, I think that way I've got to know a lot about the work we do over here. And then now that I've spent a year in the office, I think every day I'm learning. I don't think I can ever stop, because every day I'm dealing with a new customer. Every day we are into part load, right? So it's not just 2 customers, 5 customers, 10 customers. It's thousands at a time.
Right.
So yeah, I think.
So you feel you've kind of settled in now?
Yes.
You do?
Finally.
That's good.
Yes. It took me a year and a half. But yes, I feel like I've settled in. And now, initially when I used to talk to somebody who's even coming to the office, it felt like, okay, what am I to say? Like, what if the person in front of me doesn't understand what I'm saying? Right. But now I can just put my thoughts into words when I talk to somebody, rather than just wondering what to say. Correct. So yeah, it took a while, but I'm still learning.
Any key learnings or takeaways from your dad and grandfather that you would really say, okay, this has really helped me?
Yes, for sure. I think with my grandfather, it is just the way he has built this amazing relationships with my customers. I I still deal with the customers who have been with us for 30 plus years now. 30 plus. And one of the customers, he had in the 80s, we started working with them. And he was 92 when he retired. And I went with my grandfather to meet him before he sadly passed away. But I met him and he's calling my grandfather a young man. Because he gives out that energy. So I learned that from him, that no matter my age, even though I'm young, I am capable of having certain kind of conversations if I know what I'm doing. And with my father, I think he has been the strategic vision, the force that has driven these people. Because even after like changing how traditionally we were doing the work and how we are doing it right now, just introducing the computers, or we have an app for our company. That's quite rare for a company our size, right? Yes. So we never changed our workforce. We had them learn new ways. So that really inspires me about my dad. He has kept a lot of people together, what my grandfather built.
Absolutely. So, yeah. So tell me, what was the reaction of people around you when, coming as a kid is a different thing, but coming as the next boss or the boss's daughter, what was the reaction around here?
Oh, I think initially when I came in, all of our staff basically knew me. I've grown up around them. But I think there was a kind of confusion as to where I will sit in or fit in, in the business. But we all, I think, grew together into the comfort. And like today, I'm so happy and proud to say that with my staff, at least, I am that one call they do not hesitate to make. Like if there's anything, is there any issue, like they know that they can call me and they can talk to me about it.
And I think knowing your dad and grandfather, both of them, this is a huge comfort for them.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
So, Vaishakhi, what areas are you currently working on?
So because I took a year and a half now to understand the operations and how things work on that aspect of things, now I understand what my company's potential is. And I understand that what we can do, what we cannot do. There are still some spaces that need work on. For now, I am trying to acquire new customers to see what kind of customers we can cater to see if we can, adapt to the new techie world that is coming up apparently. So, and yeah, just that, I think. And just hoping that my staff also can grow that way with me, because I think that's a very core value that we as a company like to follow.
But the parcel load has always been a very tough business compared to FTL.
Yeah.
So what changes are you trying to bring in that space?
With part load, like I said, my father started an app, right? So we now have the app. I think with part load, because we cater to like the vendors directly, there is a lack of awareness that comes in. Like they know that there are services that we are providing, but they don't know how to use it. They don't know how to implement it and how it makes just everybody's life easier,
Right.
So initially now I think I'm just starting to talk to them, understand if they can adapt to the ways or the easy things that we have created, or we might just find a new way to help them.
And do you plan to go on ground to meet these customers or new prospective customers?
Yeah, that's what we just talked about, right? Yeah, this is the first time I feel ready that, I'm ready to go talk to these customers on the ground. And this is exactly what I want to achieve by doing this. Understand if what I'm providing, the service that I'm providing, which in part is fulfilling me, is good enough for these people also. Because for part load, it's major of our business, right? So it is very important that what regularly is going to them every day I'm getting their parcel, every day we are delivering it almost. So if we are doing it right or not is what I want to understand, or if we can do it in a more sustainable way is what I want to figure out.
Do you plan to diversify to FTLs and these kind of things also, or you've already started that?
Yes, we do. It is comparatively it's a lesser volume than part load, but yes, I am trying to do that. Like I'm trying to do any kind of work that I can find, because I want to learn. That's how I think I'm going to learn. I don't have somebody like sitting on my head, like, trying to teach me how to do the A, B and C's. I think experience is how I'm going to understand how to deal with the new kind of people, because it's India. I mean, every state has a different kind of way for themselves. So yeah, only through this kind of experiences, through finding new customers, through dealing with new suppliers, I think I'll be able to, find a way through.
Finally, Vaishakhi, what are your future plans? Where do you see yourself and Jayaram Transport 5 years from now?
Future plans, I think a lot of what I want to work towards, my grandfather has given us the roots. He has built strong roots, a great platform for us. My father has brought it way forward than we ever thought we would go, to be honest. I think for me now, the correct thing to do would be find the right turn that we can take. Not just try like all options that are available, but try to learn from all the options that are available and try to understand where we can go in the future, instead of just like, okay, this is the next customer I want, this is the next customer I want to think a little beyond that and go geographically, maybe understand what I can cater to as a small company that we are. So yeah, that.
Thank you, Vaishakhi. It was a delight talking to you. Nayi Soch depicts the thought of Ghazal and Vaishakhi, and Naye Raaste is the path that they will be taking to take their company to newer heights. We will be tracking the progress of Ghazal and Vaishakhi very closely, and we will keep featuring them time and again to see how they are doing. We are confident that with the knowledge, their educational background and a clear mind, they will be taking their companies to newer heights. You have been watching Eicher presents Nayi Soch Naye Raaste, a Trans India exclusive. We will be back again next week with yet another very interesting interaction. Until next week, stay safe and drive safe. Jai Hind.